Thank you for joining us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you're located. You have joined the buildingSMART International inaugural user conference. This is a series of presentations designed to accelerate the user community within buildingSMART International. We have a wide range of speakers and sessions lined up for you over the coming 2 days. This is a very important initiative for buildingSMART. It's somewhat different to the International Standards Summit that we typically hold, and I'll explain a little bit more throughout this presentation. Firstly, we have some very sad news. If you hadn't seen that our Chief Executive, Richard Petrie, very sadly passed away on April the 17th of this year. Richard was very much the founder of buildingSMART International, joined about 8 years ago and really developed buildingSMART into what it is today. I'm sure many of you know Richard or have heard of Richard, but he was certainly a fantastic individual in the construction industry and very passionate about open standards, digital workflows and open BIM itself. So we're all very saddened by this, and we send our deepest condolences to the family of Richard, and we shall miss him immensely. But I am minded to look at Richard's final presentation on the 28th of March at the International Standards Summit, and he wanted to call it, that presentation was titled Closing the Gap and Getting Closer to Users. So it was his express wish that buildingSMART International and the community align itself better with the users of the open BIM standards and services that are being developed. So it's really important for us to continue this journey that we're on today. So this 2-day agenda can be found. You've obviously come through to this program. You can see it over the 2 days. We had some challenges with the add to calendar functionality, so we have had to just put the live link to join. So I do recommend you create your own calendar invite. Just make a note of the time zone. For example, 8 a.m. British Standard Time, British Summer Time, sorry. You'll need to do a time zone calculator to put that in, and then you can add your link to that. But we'll look for a more suitable solution for the next one. And hopefully that's fine. But if you have any questions, please do email myself or Dan Little. Just one update to the program. This Making IFC 4.3 usable is now cancelled, but we do hope to bring that forward to the next user conference in the future. So what's our goal of this? Well, we plan to inspire the community to continue to collaborate. So the user conference is about collaboration. We allow the community to help solve some major challenges. So we clearly know that in the usability of services and standards, there are some challenges along the way. We do want to encourage more support for the development of materials, and we want to help to provide frameworks to support users. We also want to create an environment for the user program. And so those are really our goals of this conference. I'm just minded to look at the overall structure of buildingSMART. And in the center, we have buildingSMART International, which is the parent body for the chapters. We're supported by our members and partners and sponsors. And we run 2 summits per year. And we have 3 programs: the Standards and Solutions program, the Compliance program, and the user program, which is really what we're focusing on today. We're ably supported by our chapter network, which is growing. You'll notice Croatia added here, the latest chapter. And we have 2 other chapters that are looking to become chapters in formation. So it's quite an exciting time, but if you consider all the networks within these chapters, there are a lot of users out there using IFC, using BCF, using BSDD, and we need to support the chapter network as well as the international network. I mentioned our partners, but these are also very important in making these things usable. Consider the Open Design Alliance, for example, in making sure toolkits are available to support end users as well. And of course, we are strategic relationships with ISO and CEN to make sure that the international standards get approved and get ratified and get pushed out into the public domain. Well, 2021, if we look back as sort of milestone achievements, was a productive year for all. A lot of industry drivers, such as more focus on sustainability, is prevalent. We've seen an uptake in IFC mandates, which is one of the reasons we want to work on getting closer to our users. We've had this big milestone achievement of delivering 4.3 to ISO, and we continue to do things like focus on the technical roadmap, the IP policy, and support services. There's also been more thought leadership in the community, and I'll share a bit more there. And some chapters have moved up to full chapter status, which provides them with more voting rights within the community. We've been delivering our virtual summits, and I thank you for those that are here that have also joined those. And we continue to build on the community growth globally. This was a quick snapshot of our virtual summit last month. Again, some fantastic numbers, and 8.6 out of 10 average rating. I thought was great. Only by the end of the week, we already had 1,100 replays on the platform. So I haven't updated that, but one could only assume that that'd be good. We'll also make these sessions available on our website very shortly. I talked a bit about thought leadership. We have our publication, which is, standards library, which is available via that URL below. You'll see lots of these thought leadership pieces there. We're developing surveys and thought leadership papers, like liberating your asset information and digitizing your construction, as well as some new industry insights, which we'll see a lot more of those. I would like to let you know that the awards program is open. And to get there, go on our homepage. It's either on the rolling banner, or you can go to the awards program and awards tab and go down to awards 2022. In there, we have some new categories, or at least a new category and some new subcategories. So you'll see the sustainability excellence is now part of the options that you have. So sustainable outcomes. So if you want to submit based on your company or individual's ability to deliver sustainable outcomes, I do thoroughly recommend that. You'll also notice under the project delivery excellence, we now have design for different asset types. So design for buildings and design for infrastructure, construction for buildings and construction for infrastructure. So we wanted to make sure that those two different areas were broken out into those two areas. So to go on that webpage, as mentioned, you create a submission there that will take you to our AwardForce platform. But there is also a submission guide to support you in your application process. And if you are inspired by that, then please do note that we've just published our OpenBIM Awards yearbook for 2021. In there, you'll see all the winners from last year, and you'll see them really sharing their best practice in OpenBIM. There's also, on our publications.buildingsmart.org, there's also some full case studies which provide more in-depth information about various different projects around the world. I do encourage you to check those out. So what are the current user challenges that we've noticed in the industry? Well, one question we get asked a lot is, how do you work with IFC? How do I get my organization more adept at using IFC? What supporting materials are there available to me and my staff? What is OpenBIM? Can I get certified easily? Who do I need to speak to? Are there any user guides available for me? I'm an expert, but how do I submit content? Are there any resources available in my language? And I'm confused by all this terminology. So we are delighted to be launching this initiative, which we're sharing with you today, which is our knowledge base site. And this knowledge base site, you'll see the URL below there, user.buildingsmart.org, is a place where we are developing materials through the community to support all of those challenges I mentioned above. And this is a really fantastic initiative that allows for development of translation services, for user guides, and knowledge learning related to OpenBIM and Building Smart community. An example here, how to deal with IFC building story using Revit 2020. And inside we've asked Hans Hendricks, who I'm going to invite up very shortly, to develop some user guide material on working with Revit. Hans also will be doing a session later on today about getting the most out of Revit and OpenBIM. And Hans has actually created a profile within the knowledge base site. And Hans, are you available? Are you there? Are you able to just talk a little bit about that? Maybe just demonstrate a bit about how you were able to do that within the platform.
Yes, Aidan, good morning. I'm available.
Fantastic. Hans, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay.
And the screen is yours. If you would just like to just share a little bit about how you were able to use this knowledge base site.
Yeah, so like you said, Aidan, hopefully you can see my screen now. And I'm happy and also delighted that I can create these articles. In my daily work, I work as a BIM consultant in the Netherlands. And from practice, I noticed also that sometimes there are very small items what can hiccup the process of the workflow. In this case, IOC grid. In many cases, they are required. For example, the client requires the IOC grid, but modelers don't know how to create that. So, as you said, we created these articles, how modelers can build up that in Revit and how they can export that to IOC. And this is an example for that. People can comment on that also. And we started with the most frequently asked items, like how classifications are done, how can I add that project information to that kind of items. Here you can see something about IC classification, how we can do that in several manners. And we documented it with a lot of screen dumps, as you can see. Also noticing that other users or the community can translate that to other languages as well. For me, it was very easy to upload these kind of articles as an admin, since it's an easy to use website, and I don't have problems for uploading screen notes or, for example, in this case, a YouTube movie as well. So it was easy to do.
Thank you, Hans. That was great, and yeah, the work you've done is really brilliant. What I would say is that if anyone has any express wish to do the same, you'll notice here you can contribute by sending a draft using this form. It is based on approval, so once you get approved, like Hans was, then you can use the back end to put your article in here. But you'll notice already that you know how to create an IFC, or these things that Hans has put in are now publicly available for everyone. So please rate the article. What it will do is it will provide more approval through the community, through open source, to develop these materials. And of course, it will provide a trusted resource as an individual, as a contributor, that we can make sure that the best content is put on the website. But I think this is a really great initiative, and Hans, thank you so much for explaining that. And I am going to jump back into my presentation. Goes here. Yep, so user.buildingSMART.org, and thanks, Hans, for that. Another thing that we've launched recently, which some of you may be aware of, or some of you may not, is that we've launched this thing called accelerated projects, and we are asking for organizations that want to prototype some of this with us. But we sort of put together a scenario as to, again, why in the user program we're seeing an uptake of needing to launch this accelerated project. So we consider it as an opportunity to grow your business as well. So this organization says we've won a project to design and build a new building, and we can't wait to get started. We are a well-known company and have delivered many projects like this before. However, the client has said we would like you to use IFC and open standards, and we want this to be an open BIM project, so that we're able to control that digital destiny. This organization comes to us and says, help, we feel we need a bit of support in this area. And so with that, the organization says, well, I think we need to upskill and set out a strategy for open BIM. And this will align them as a principal open BIM experts and be good for their business for the future. So what we're doing with this accelerated project is helping these organizations, and they can be from varying different backgrounds, but helping these organizations with an open BIM framework, first and foremost. We'll then supply them with an IFC operating procedure, which helps them develop the information requirements, let's say from the client, using something like IDS, and within that, then we would help them establish their project data definitions with something like the BSDD. We would also work with that organization to develop user guides and flowcharts. There may even be something that they're added to that knowledge base site that we've just shared with you, so that they can be publicly available and made to support other projects like that. And we would help them deliver those exchange requirements to better support that project. And finally, we would provide them with training and certification through our professional certification program. With this, we would assume them to be open BIM ready as an organization. Some of the outputs would be this data management framework, user guides that I talked about, as well as upskilling and training and certification, with some of the outputs coming through that. So this framework might look like us or buildingSMART or part of the community analyzing existing frameworks within that project, providing a proposal for a new open BIM framework, exploring strategic opportunities to work with services such as IDS or BSDD or OpenCDE as well, and optionally supporting user guide development, as mentioned, as well as accreditation. And we would appoint project managers and technical liaisons to support this accelerated project. And this is available to anyone if they're interested in this initiative. With this and with the whole user program, we're hoping to get closer to users, as Richard Petrie mentioned, and provide more confidence in the community that if they have a challenge with IFC or OpenBIM, the place to come is with directly to buildingSMART International. We can support them. Also wanted you to save the date with these slightly improving situation in the market. We are doing our first, does actually say the first live virtual summit, but it's actually the first physical summit in 3 years. Sorry about that. And it will be held in Montreal in Canada, 18th to the 21st of October at the Centre Montreal. So we hope you can join us there. We will also be scheduling out the next user event to support and build on this. And hopefully, one of my hopes and aspirations for this event is that it inspires more people to contribute to become content providers and supporters of the user program as we move forward, and that we can gain more experts throughout this event. So that is my brief introduction, hopefully just on time. And we have a lot of different information, and I actually do need to add the user site now to this growing list of resources. But if you need anything else, then please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you for that. I think now we're going to go on to a presentation from Léon van Berlo, our technical director. And with that, I'll hand over to Léon.
Hello everyone, good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. I'm very pleased and happy to have the opportunity to provide you with some updates on new and upcoming technical features that are coming. I'll start with BSDD. I'll run through services and then standards and a couple of miscellaneous topics as well. I think important to realize on the BSDD is that we've launched a new version about a year ago now. It has been thoroughly tested. It's been deployed as an enterprise stable, secure and monitored web service. It's already being used in commercial use cases with mission critical workflows. So this is really a stable enterprise ready version. There's still a couple of misconceptions. So this slide hopefully tries to clear those away. The new BSDD is fully compliant with the new ISO 12006 Part 3 that is, I think, soon being released. And it's also fully compliant with ISO 23386. That means we don't have GUIDs anymore. We don't have this discussion anymore about duplicates. We have a fully integrated linked data platform, which also makes it easier to link between other sources and other libraries. This might still sound a little bit technical, but this really drastically improves the usability. Also on the duplicates and the management of the different domains and the different data, we have shielded domains, so only owners can edit their own data. This also contributes to making sure that there's no duplicates. Relations and links are being maintained and owned by someone. Everyone publishes their data under a license that they choose. So yeah, this is really a professional publication platform that is focusing very much on compliance and publication mechanisms. Currently, it's free for publicly available data. We also have private data that can be stored, but that's a different topic, which we don't get too many features for at the moment. A couple of new technical features. I know this is a user conference focused on end users, and there are some technical slides in here, but I think it's very important to realize that these resource identifiers, URIs, now also serve RDF, triples, turtle files. So this is quite an important feature, quite an important update to improve the usability in certain fields that really require this to make connections to IFC. We got more and more support in different tools. Later today in the BSDD session, we'll see an ACA demo, but there's also continuous improvements on SketchUp plugin, and we have other people who are making connections to this as well. So we have continuous support on this. We're also trying to support software vendors as good as possible, obviously in knowledge and expertise, but sometimes also even in small financial contributions. In the back end, we're also heavily still working on the new validation service. I think this will have a bright future. Currently, it's mainly focused on BSDD information consistency, but as you see, syntax and schema validation are also part of the tool. So this could really grow outside of the realm of BSDD into something that might be very useful and very helpful. Currently, this validation service is ready for beta testing. So if you want to test this, it means you have to upload your IFC files. Also in this tool, obviously, we take very much care of all of the conformity, privacy issues, security. There's nothing holding you back. You would be able to also, as you see, delete your own data again, download it, and only you will see this. So if you want to test this service fully secure, please let us know so we can add you to the private testing program. We also have editing service in development. The French chapter has a very nice semantics for BIM, a very useful tool, so you don't have to tweak Excel sheets and transfer them to JSON files, but a very nice tool to very user-friendly control your data in your BSDD domain. There's also other commercial tools, again, one from ACA, not sure if they're going to show it this afternoon, but also those tools are being developed currently to help you maintain your data that you're publishing in the BSD. We're supporting private domains as well. So most of the data you would see is publicly available data published under an open license. But when you log in and do a search function, you would also get private data that is specifically for your account, for your email address served, because you would have a license there. So imagine that you would bought a license to a classification system or to some kind of other system that you need to pay for. Also, those domains, those data sets can now be linked into the BSDD. And because they're all in the same structure, you would have one single workflow, one single tool to be using when you use different classification systems and different company-specific standards. And we also added new functionalities for materials. Did a lot of testing on that with the NAACT material classification system, or the NAACT material system in the Netherlands. And we also did some linking between materials and internal libraries. Hopefully we will also see a demo about that this afternoon. So within BSDD, we now have classes, classification references, properties, attributes, materials, and obviously there's a strong match to the IDS standard there as well. So those are the BSDD updates. As you see, a lot has happened in the last year, a lot of additional functionalities, and all of these are really focused on improving the usability of these services. All of them are being developed and tested together with the industry. And I know it still sounds a bit technical when you present it like this, but if you are interested in this, please have a look at a couple of videos on what BSDD could mean for your business. Please reach out to us if you want to help us progress this topic, or if you just want to publish your data or connect to the API. Then the use case management service, also a couple of very interesting updates there. This is mainly driven by the Swiss chapter, but as Swiss do, very high quality as well, has a bright future, and it's really part of the integrated strategy of buildingSMART to improve usability of the standards and solutions. This single sign-on is now also integrated in the use case management service, so your buildingSMART services account can also be used to log into the use case management service, just like when you log into the translation system or the BSDD or any kind of other service. We're really getting more and more content available here, and we're also still progressing to position this in slightly different ways. So also thinking about a marketplace where high quality use cases can be shared with others in a slightly different way. For this year, however, the priority is very much on integrating use case management service together with the BSDD, IFC and the IDS standard. So that's currently being developed and progressing quite nicely as well. So far, quick overview of buildingSMART Data Dictionary and the use case management service and the validation service, which are the three main services that we are developing at the moment. Just quickly also a standards overview, solutions and standards. As you all know, IFC 4.3 is in the process of getting an ISO stamp for end users and for chapters, basically for everyone. It means you can start helping to translate this into your own language. So we have terms, we have names of properties of entities, we have descriptions of them. All of those can use high quality translation to make it more useful and more available in your local region. Tomorrow afternoon there's a presentation on this, on how to do translations, but you can also use the user.buildingSMART.org website that Aidan introduced to get some guidelines on how to do translations and how to do proofreading if you're part of a chapter. So also, this is another call to chapters. Please start setting up a process to proofread translations for approval. You can also find a knowledge base article on how to do that and what it means for you. So that's IFC 4.3. We also have IDS close to a release. We have quite a lot of software tools that are supporting that, but we are still very much looking forward to additional examples. So if you have any kind of a level of information need, exchange information requirement, information delivery specification, however you want to call it, and you want to test that in IFC, IDS, and maybe even with BSDD, with that triangle combination, please feel free to reach out to us. OpenCDE Documents API is in the phase of user testing, so there's a advanced user testing and application program going on currently. I think it's mainly with advanced users of a couple of selected software tools that are part of this development process. But this is a very nice project as well. And I know there's a lot of confusion going on because it has the name OpenCDE in it, and that's obviously a container term for a lot of things. So I think it would be good to actually run a video, which is I think about 3 minutes, that would be explaining what the current OpenCDE document API module is actually developing. So,
what we're trying to solve is connect a common data environment with external tools for projects. And when you think about that process, you can see how complex it is, from taking the documentation, the time it requires, to the risk it might take. But what if we can change it from that to just 2 steps? Make it simpler, reduce the effort, And this is what the OpenCDE Documents API does. It's a standardized API that allows applications to connect together. And why don't we take a look at how there's a quality tool like Solibri connects to Aconex. So let's start a quality insurance model. I'm going to open the Aconex Common Data environment using the OpenCDE Documents API. I'm going to log to the project that I need information from. From here, I can easily look at the register, identify the files that are necessary for me to build my model, and I can directly push them from Aconex into Solibri. Solibri will be connected to Aconex from this point onwards. That means that these models are actually looking for the updates from Aconex. I can set this up to prompt me every time an update happens in Aconex and push the information automatically into Solibri. So if I set this up, when my subcontractor jumps into the document register and looks for the latest version of these files and update that file inside of the document register and transmit that information to my organization, I just need to be in Solibri. Solibri will automatically show me that it's required an update, and I can be able to push that information from the common data environment in a single seamless effort into my tool. And from here, we can take a look at the reverse workflow, saving information from a tool like Solibri into the Aconex Common Data environment. Using the OpenCDE API, I can log in again to the project I was working on, and I can take this Solibri file and upload it into the document register using the metadata that normally Aconex has. I can save this information directly from the register, keeping that single audit trail simplified in a very straightforward process with the OpenCDE API, making this document accessible for the rest of the project participants.
This is just the first release of the OpenCDE family of API standards. API standards are getting more and more important for the technical program. So these are together with BCF. These are the first ones that are quite as you saw in the video, quite efficient and quite useful in practice. So then a little bit about the future plans. The technical roadmap is starting its third year. I think about today or tomorrow. We've published the technical roadmap about 2 years ago. So going into the third year, we're almost halfway. And the strategy here is obviously to increase the integration between the different standards and services, but also to really bring the developed technologies closer to the end users. And I think that's also the reason why we have this user conference. We really want to bridge that gap between the technical developments and actually using it in practice. So we're working on user guidelines, different workflows, and as Aidan also mentioned, and we'll talk about a bit more, these accelerated projects where we can really help clients and organizations to set up their internal processes and guide them on how to use different services and different standards. So more on that to follow soon as well. How can you get involved? We really want you to get involved. So I know this is a 15-minute, still quite a lot of technical terms in this presentation, but the best way to get to understand what's going on is to really get involved. So if you want to test this validation service, please email us. If you want to test the new IDS standards, please email us. If you want to share your work using the use case management service, please email us. There's really multiple ways to get involved. Also check out the different tutorials. Hans has published a really nice knowledge base articles, multiple knowledge base articles on how to get high quality IFC out of Revit and how to deal with that. Also the translation guidelines are on the knowledge base. So please, if you have any other questions as well, feel free to reach out to us. We're really looking forward to get more engaged in the practical levels. So thank you very much. That was the update of the technical improvements that we did and are still upcoming. Looking forward to all of the other sessions.
Thank you, Léon. That was fantastic. Really great to hear some of the progress being made there. And yeah, do share those sentiments that we encourage the community to get involved. Well, now we have an update from Richard Kelly, who'll be providing some information about the Solutions and Standards Programme. So Richard, I see your screen, over to you.
Good morning, or good day to everybody. This is our first public appearance since we lost Richard Petrie. And of course, we're all very sad and we're missing him terribly. I've worked with Richard since not long after he started with buildingSMART, and I've been privileged to be a witness to the fulfillment of his strategic vision. Thank you very much for all your messages of condolence. I can assure you that I've passed them all on to his family, and I spoke to his wife Jane again last night, and I know she appreciates them. We'll be putting plans in place and informing you about proper ways to celebrate Richard's career later on in the year. However, I can hear Richard in my head at the moment urging me to get on with it, followed by the laugh, of course. So that's what we're doing. We're getting on with it. And therefore, welcome to this update on the activities within the Solutions and Standards Programme. The Solutions and Standards Programme is one of 3 core programmes, the user programme, Solutions, Standards and Compliance, and that's how buildingSMART divides up its activities. I like to describe this programme as the factory. The BSI community is committed to enabling life cycle management for a better built asset environment, and the programme is established to be the place where that international community collaborates. It focuses really on delivering against user requirements, and it's designed to be agile to be able to respond to emerging needs. Now, the breadth and the depth of what the community is dealing with, of course, is enormous. Just represented by this diagram here, where we have the supply chain, which is including everybody from the client organizations, all the users and citizens, designers, builders, software vendors. We're also dealing with the asset life cycle, from the concept of a facility or a portfolio of facilities or an individual system, all the way through to disposal. And the scope, of course, is with both the vertical and horizontal structures, infrastructure, buildings, a portfolio of assets, facilities, and through to product. So how do we deal with this scope? We know we've got to be very careful we don't boil the ocean here, to coin a phrase. And the answer is we compartmentalise. We've already mentioned that we compartmentalise into the 3 core programs: user, solutions and standards, and compliance. But we do it again. We then subdivide the Solutions and Standards Programme into what we call rooms, and the rooms are the sub-programmes for the specialist domains. We now have 9 rooms because the Sustainability Energy Management room is our newest, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that shortly. And these rooms are led by knowledgeable members from our member community. This is probably my favourite image. These are the steering committees of all the rooms. They give their time pro bono. They're completely volunteers. And they are the committed experts from our membership community for the 9 programmes, for the 9 rooms I've just mentioned. And these people set the mission and the vision of the room depending on what their area of the industry needs. And they then plot the room plan, the room roadmap. And they oversee the projects that deliver against that roadmap. Now, the buildingSMART Management Office, the people that you see on this call today and some supporting staff, we help them fulfill that vision. We help them with the process and the project management and the program management skills. But these are the people that are really leading the Solutions and Standards Programme in terms of its output. And the BSI process is the governance engine for incubating, developing, managing, and maintaining the standards and services for the built asset industry. Essentially, it enables hundreds of people from different businesses and around the world to work together effectively with suitable pace and suitable rigor, good quality outputs. It's a set of procedures that all the BSI development activities pass through, and there's various checks and balances along the way. And it allows the correct knowledge to be applied at the right time by our specialist groups that support it. And just as importantly, it ensures international consensus and allows the formal approval of our standards. Compartmentalizing, though, doesn't mean putting things into silos. It doesn't mean parochial behavior. I'm showing by example here that we have two rooms, the infrastructure room and the railway room, and collectively they've worked on developing the IFC 4.3 standard. Many initiatives have shared requirements, and we'll talk a little bit more about IFC 4.3 in a moment. The other rooms also collaborate, and this diagram is just to illustrate here that there are other shared requirements. So, for example, fire safety is important to the building and the airport rooms, and it would also be important to the tunnel project. It's being led by the building room, but we're getting input from the other rooms. And the BIM and GIS interoperability challenge, which is a big aspect of what the community wants to deal with, that's important to several rooms: airport, infrastructure, railway, and so on and so forth. The current portfolio of activities which are being delivered through projects in the various rooms, it looks like this. You can see at the moment we've got quite a few activities coming in through the initiation phase, which is good. When I showed you this diagram a year ago, we had more in the development phase, so you can see things do wash through. The BSI process, it progresses through three phases: initiation, development, and then approval. And you can see how the spread is currently looking. Down on the bottom right hand there, I've indicated the projects that were delivering this IFC 4.3 standard, namely those from the rail project and those from the infrastructure room. So in terms of big achievements, hopefully I've set the scene with how the Solution and Standards program operates. Let's have a look at some of the things that have been achieved in the last 12 months. IFC 4.3, of course, but there's also been work on facilities management and open BIM, the occupant movement analysis activity, and the regulatory survey. So for IFC 4.3, there were several projects that were extending the entities of IFC beyond those required just for buildings. So you see I've indicated buildings on this diagram, but the first thing that happened some years ago now is IFC alignment was added, and then IFC bridge was delivered through a project that added the entities for specific bridge types. Multiple use cases have now extended the IFC with infrastructure agreements for other aspects, and it'll be road, ports and waterways, and rail. A tunnel project actually is still being addressed in an ongoing project, so that doesn't actually feature in IFC 4.3. This has been a phenomenal program of collaboration and leadership. It is the culmination of many years' work, and I'm not going to attempt to name all the people that have been involved in this creation of this standard. We've got several different presentations available for you to watch on that from the people who have led it, and further reports will be coming out about this achievement. In terms of where we are, these are the current phases of work. In blue, we're recognizing the work that the projects are doing and the achievements that have been made there. So in October last year, we did publish as a BSI production standard. In January of this year, we did release the alignment-based reference view MVD, and that's now being used. Actually, it's being used by AASHTO in North America. We also submitted to ISO on the 6th of March against the deadline. And on the 6th of April, we had a further meeting with the Joint Working Group 12 of ISO, where we presented the submission and all the processes that would followed, where the sign-offs have been, where the input have been from expert panels, from technical leadership, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the ISO project is minded to fast track this through as a draft international standard in ISO. We're looking like with an early release of, with an ISO release of 2023. There's a ballot got to take place on that within the ISO process, and we get the results of that on May the 27th as to whether it will be accepted as a draft international standard and therefore more likely to be published as an ISO standard in early 2023. And of course, that's something that the client organisations want. They want the credibility of IFC 4.3 being an ISO standard as an update to the current ISO standard of IFC. So in a nutshell, buildingSMART International program has delivered against the milestones, and we're now collaborating with ISO to get it published as an ISO standard. The building room has also been leading on some achievements. The FM Open BIM project has produced 5 industry insight papers, which we're going to publish shortly as an illustration of what they're going to look like. These are providing expanded use cases for specific areas. These will be published, as I say, shortly, and I'm hoping I'm expecting they will generate interest and input to future standards, because they're dealing with some big areas. Occupant movement analysis project is dealing with how human beings react to fire. And I've seen a demonstration of this being used in software already, even though it's still at the early stages of development, middle stages of development. Very good, actually. It allows designers to understand whether a building or a facility is fit for purpose when it comes to how people will react to fire, or not just fire, any emergency, for evacuation purposes. So it includes regulatory requirements and verification methods with design criteria, smoke and fire simulation, evacuation modeling, as I say, and developing some further occupant movement analysis use cases. And 3 of these use cases are now being published on our new use case management service. And I encourage you to go and look at those, because they are available to view should you wish. So let's focus on some new initiatives. So this includes the Sustainability Energy Management Room, as I mentioned earlier, a further white paper. This time we're dealing with how to liberate asset data, an agile railway project, and construction to operation handover and the intended user guides. The Sustainability Energy Management Room is new. It's concentrating on enabling an efficient electrical network in buildings. We currently just have 2 member organisations involved, which is Schneider Electric and Siemens. We will be inviting more into the room steering committee shortly, and because it's an early stage, the members of the steering committee will be invited in and appointed by the standards committee executive in order to get the momentum going, and then we'll move to an election phase later on, and that's one of the things that's determined in the BSI process. They have already produced a draft room charter outlining the mission and the vision, and that'll be shared shortly. We are producing a further white paper on how to liberate asset data for organisational effectiveness. The first one was aimed at busy executives. This one's aimed more at the executive asset director, asset management director, or chief engineer. Organisations want a clear line of sight from their organisational objectives through to the operations of maintaining and delivering assets in response to the various objectives. That's not really been achievable until the advent of open digital ways of working. The technology now exists. This is now really about helping people understand the possibilities and adopting digital ways of working to achieve full entitlement. This is actually working nicely against our intention to provide user guides, to getting closer to the user theme again. And on the same theme, the railway room has a new project starting. This is about contracting to use IFC 4.3. So IFC 4.3 has been delivered. How do we use it in real capital projects? How do we use it in operations? So the project is focusing on enabling availability and software solutions. We're also linking this to our management office initiative, which is accelerated projects that Aidan mentioned. And that is in response to user needs, applying open BIM into their real capital projects and operations, as I say. So it's about getting closer to the end users. We have already been talking to some client organisations, not just in railway, and the message we're getting is they need to be able to determine people capability, they need to have structured data, and they need to be able to achieve data flow through, and that's what we're helping with. The facilities management handover activity is expanding into being an asset operations handover, so delivering for building organisations and infra organisations. First part of this project is going to be a shared project between infra and buildings, developing the core elements. The current standard is huge, and this project is making many improvements, including the modularization of the information to allow access to the appropriate data as required. So it's keeping the best parts of the existing standard, including the interoperability, and then harmonizing it for a more effective usage by the industry. So more on this to follow, and there are presentations already available on a lot of these things that I'm telling you about. Our projects are funded either through work in kind from our member organisations or from cash sponsorship. We're seeking funding at the moment for several projects. The interest is high. They have been put forward by member organisations and signed off by the Standards Committee, but there needs to be more funding to take them into the next phase of development. So we're seeking funding at the moment for fire safety, the facilities management handover and asset operations handover that I've just mentioned, MVD for steel construction, regulatory information requirements project, and airport entities. And a quick look at the dashboard of our funding as it is at the moment. We manage the funds, and we have client and supplier contracts for each project, and you can see that the scale of the funding really it varies depending on the project scope. So the IFC extension deployment phases 1 and 2, which was infrastructure and railway, that was a 6.3 million project. That's actually now complete, and all the funding was achieved. You can see that smaller projects such as regulatory information requirements, we're looking for about 120,000 in order to deliver on that. So if there are topics that you wish to support because they're important to your business, then please get in touch, and we'll explain to you how to get involved. In terms of the governance of the Solutions and Standards Programme, I've been through this many times before. I don't tend to go through it very detailed. And actually, I'm always willing to hold an onboarding meeting to the Solutions and Standards Programme and to the BSI process for any member organisation that wishes it. We do have various other bits of media on our website that you can access as well. I'll tell you about a few significant things. Obviously, the advent of the technical roadmap that Léon von Berlo has brought and then signed off by the community at large has been very useful indeed. And we also learn consistently and continually from delivering large programs such as the delivery of IFC 4.3. The structure, the governance structure looks like this. We have the Standards Committee, and the Standards Committee is the body that is representative of all of our members and chapters, and they are the body that votes on whether international consensus has been achieved. The Room Steering Committees I've mentioned at some length, and they oversee the activity portfolio, and within that we have a Project Steering Committee, and they monitor what's going on with the projects on a monthly basis. So the project leaders who are in contract to buildingSMART International are obliged to bring their project dashboards to the Project Steering Committee every month with their key performance indicators, and also to list out the risks and assumptions and any issues they're facing so that we can help unlock those issues to ensure the projects meet their milestones. We also have Industry Forum, which we're introducing in all the rooms, and not all of them have got it yet, but this is for our member community that want to know more about what's going on in a particular room, but they're not sitting on the steering committee and they're not on a project. So you can see more about that. So in terms of how it looks, all of our members get a vote. Our room steering committees are elected from our members. The project steering committee is made up of project sponsors, the people who are actually paying for the projects to be created, and the room steering committee. The projects are led by the proposal team and contractors to buildingSMART International, and the industry forum is for any of our member room representatives. The Standards Committee, as I say, votes on whether international consensus has been achieved. They have been busy in the last year. Here's some of the things that they've been doing. it is a vote, it's not a meeting. They do get the information sent out to them, and they do share it, hopefully, with their community, so either with the people in their organisation or within their chapter. And we do provide support for the rooms. I'm pleased to say now we have a good support team from the buildingSMART Management Office. Our international project coordinators are listed here. So Laura looks after the airport room, the construction room, and the sustainability energy management room. John looks after the building room, the infrastructure room, the product room. Sheila looks after the regulatory room, the railway room, and Jeffrey looks after the technical room. Claire is our finance manager, so she supports me in terms of the financial management of the entire company, the organisation of buildingSMART International. But we also provide a financial service for the projects and the rooms as well, which is discrete and separate. So all these people that you see listed here, as I say, are part of the management team. They're my team. So I do go to the room steering committees. I do help as much as possible and guide as much as possible. But obviously now that the organisation is so much bigger, I'm very pleased to be able to rely on this core team of professionals to support your programs. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that was useful, and please continue to keep involved and ask questions at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That was great. We are very close to the next session, so I'm going to conclude this so that we can open up the next webinar. I have pasted the URL in there for the session, which is creating a digital twin using IFC. So thanks Léon and Richard again, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session. So thank you all very much.